Hi everyone, today I will go through different methods and ways for beginners to learn piano in 2023. So if you are a beginner and are watching this video, I can help you with some do's and don'ts and also tell you which method I think is the overall best. Because there are so many different ways of learning the piano nowadays, I've decided to look at the most popular methods of today's world, which of course also includes apps and other things like that. So first, let's start with the piano apps. I've picked out two of the most popular ones, Synthesia, an all-time favorite, and Simply Piano, one of, if not the best-selling app for beginners of the piano. So first let's talk about Synthesia. This is a software designed to teach piano in a fun and engaging way. It kind of reminds of Guitar Hero, another game that was also quite popular for a time, where people can feel like, well, heroes playing along their favorite tunes. Synthesia displays falling notes that correspond to keys on a virtual keyboard. So basically, the notes fall down and show you which keys you need to press. It also includes some color coding, for example, left and right hand in different colors. And you can just import a MIDI file or choose presets and play along to your favorite songs and pieces by plugging in your MIDI keyboard. The idea with Synthesia is that you learn to time your hands together to how the notes are falling down and presented to you. This can make it fun and can make the learning process less boring, but as you can already imagine, there's a major flaw with this method. It basically just throws all the information of music at you and it's up to you to deal with it. It's like, here's a bunch of notes, do what you want with it. There's no real instruction, no background information or introduction on how to play the piano properly. It's just a 0 to 100 immediate in-your-face approach. The thing that bothers me and I personally dislike the most, apart from the whole idea and the silliness of the falling notes, is that you don't get any information on how the sheet music is actually composed and written. Because the sheet music is really the heart of music. I mean, it's where all the information is written down. For example, just to name three, you would have the tempo indication, you would have dynamic indications, things like pedal, and many more things. They try to cover up a little bit by throwing in some arbitrary so-called exercises and music theory drills, which really have no substance in my opinion. And on top of that, of course, you get no information on things like posture, hand position, and most importantly, no feedback on if what you're doing is actually right or not. Overall, I think this is a pretty terrible idea and I recommend it to absolutely nobody. You're just learning piano completely the wrong way and you're missing out on a lot of information. You're just wasting your time in my opinion. I'll give you an example. Learning to play the piano with Synthesia is like learning to drive a car only by looking at your GPS navigation. Yes, you know where you are, but you learn absolutely nothing about things like traffic laws, how the car actually works, good driving habits, and so on. Look, there's nothing wrong with having some fun, but in my opinion, Synthesia actually messes you up in many ways. Next we have Simply Piano. This is an all-time best-selling app, but before you say anything, yes, I know that there are some better apps out there, so to say, but I'll get to that later. We need to look at Simply Piano because it's still the #1 search result in app stores and it's the most trusted app for many beginners. I took a look at Simply Piano in this video I posted some months ago, but I had to say I have my doubts about the app, but compared to Synthesia, it's at least 10 times better. So Simply Piano does actually work and present you with sheet music, which is a big plus. And they do actually show you a little bit on how you should position your hand and fingers, although of course this is very limited and not at all tailored to your hand or your body. They offer a good structure and increase the difficulty step by step, which is good and definitely keeps people motivated. I'm not gonna lie, even though I thought it was disappointing, I did have fun playing around with it because of the level design and the game-like feeling. They also teach some basic theory and a little bit of background information, but that's pretty much it. The rest is purely dedicated to learning songs or pieces, oftentimes heavily arranged and reduced versions. So those are the good things. I know they don't really sound like good things, but those are the good things. Now to the problems. First, the feedback system is very buggy. I mean, when I was using the app, I was playing some other notes, but the app still picked them up as the correct notes. I googled this issue and it seems to be a common problem, especially on acoustic pianos. Even though I mentioned sheet music, this is actually a modified version. So you're basically only going to learn modified and simplified versions of the pieces that you wanted to learn. This is fine for someone who never wants to play difficult music later on, but it can be a real shock for some people when they later found out the version they've been playing is a simple version of the original. For example, it does not correct your technique, your posture, your pedaling, your dynamics even. And now I want to talk about other apps because, as I mentioned before, I know that Simply Piano isn't the most complex app and there are others. So a lot of especially newer piano apps are using or claiming to use AI to enhance their functionality. So of course AI is a great tool, but these apps are trying to mislead a little bit in my opinion. AI is just a great buzzword right now, so every app has to include it. I personally think that even if you had a highly trained and sophisticated AI model, which these apps don't, and even if you had the best pianists come together to develop these apps, which they didn't, playing the piano is just such a highly individual thing that only someone who has the experience in the field can tell you if what you're doing is right for your particular hand and body. And of course, an experienced pianist can give you feedback on like 20 other things too. I will get back to AI later, but for now, let's talk about one other method which for me borders on scams. So another popular method is essentially playing by ear, but it's advertised as learning the piano in 2 weeks. So in essence, what they do is they teach you a bunch of 4-chord progressions over and over, and they tell you how to improvise over them, and to them that means you have mastered the piano. I think these can be a borderline scam because I've seen some of them, no joke, going for $2,000 for 20 lessons on what they claim is mastering the piano in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Of course, I don't need to tell you how ridiculous that is, but it's something that is just in poor taste in my opinion. Like I said, they revolve around two things: teaching you some simple chord progressions and some basics on improvisation. For example, which harmonies go together and which don't, and which notes from a scale or arpeggio and so on you can use to improvise. Honestly, if you want to do that, you can just go to YouTube, type something in, and you can learn to improvise over a bunch of chord progressions in probably 2 or 3 weeks, and you don't need to pay anything. $2,000 for mastering the piano in 2 weeks is just in poor taste for me, and I think it's a scam, and I would advise absolutely nobody to buy those courses. So who's the winner for learning piano for beginners in 2023? The answer is clear for me. It's learning sheet music and having a good teacher. But there are some more things to it. Nowadays we have many good resources which are completely free of good material, how to learn the piano, proper technique, posture, and so on. You can basically find out all of this stuff by yourself, just a couple of online searches, but you should be working together with a teacher who can give you tailored advice. As I've said once, one of the biggest problems is that beginners used to overestimate their capabilities and want to learn hard pieces, but this is of course counterproductive. So a good teacher will actually make you aware of that and give you some better recommendations instead. There are also many things that are complex about interpretation, expression, dynamics, phrasing, stylistic things, and many more, which may not be super important for you in the beginning or for beginners. And indeed, when I teach people who are newer to the piano, I don't go through these things, but I like to hint towards these things because we want to build a piano culture, so to say. We want to really build a whole pianist here. We don't want to just throw everything at them and see what sticks. It's kind of like a growing process, and there is no real shortcut. You just have to put in the work, but you have to work with someone who's experienced and can actually give you the right advice. I wouldn't be where I am with my piano level if it wasn't for my teachers, and this is the same for all the other professional pianists out there. There might be some exceptions of people who are really good and learned themselves. I think Lucas Debargue is probably he taught himself, but those are exceptions. Most of these pianists just come from having been taught in a very traditional way, and there's absolutely a reason to that. Of course, you don't necessarily have to learn the piano to become the next Chopin competition prize winner, but I'm telling you that even if you want to do the basics, it would be quite useful to have a teacher, because you will actually see that your progress is going to be faster and it's going to be more natural, and you're going to learn things that you can keep forever. With a teacher, you can always have the human component of someone who actually knows what they're doing, and most importantly, and I think this is the one thing that differentiates from AI, is that they went through some things and they can give you good solutions based on their experience, which AI will not have. For example, when a student presents me a piece that I've played already, I can tell them exactly my experience with the piece, what to look out for, how to practice it, etc. So I can use my experience in the field, so to say, performing a piece, having played it, to already give some inside information to my students. And it doesn't matter if it's the easiest piece or the hardest piece. Any kind of inside information is really important, and you're just never gonna get that from an app. I would just say, to summarize, the traditional way is still the best. There are exceptions, but nowadays there are so many good materials out there. You can listen for free, watch for free, or read for free, that I would encourage for you to do a mixture of those things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.